Black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Bill Maher has been aggressively challenging what he sees as woke arguments, and his latest focus is Whoopi Goldberg. To be fair, the actress has faced criticism for a number of controversial comments she's made since 2022. This time, Maher didn't just push back. He delivered a sharp, highly public critique that put Goldberg on the defensive. So what did she say that drew such a strong response from Maher, and why has his reaction stirred up so much debate online? Here's a breakdown of what happened and why people are talking about it.
Got to get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
Whoopi Goldberg may have stirred things up, and now she's facing some intense pushback. In our previous video, Bill Maher sharply criticized Sunny Hostin for what he saw as misrepresenting his comments. This time, though, the team from The View doesn't seem willing to let the moment pass quietly. With Hostin taking heat earlier, Goldberg appears to have stepped forward to respond, coming in with strong energy and clearly ready to push back.
Black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Whoopi Goldberg leaned into a familiar line of argument, but critics say it missed the point being made. Bill Maher had been emphasizing issues he believes many Black Americans prioritize, things like job growth, economic stability, and effective policing. On the surface, that position was fairly straightforward. Goldberg, however, shifted the discussion toward supporting a former prosecutor with policies aimed at helping working-class voters. To Maher and his supporters, that response didn't directly address his original point, which is why the exchange has sparked debate online. From their perspective, the arguments were talking past each other rather than engaging head-on, and Maher was quick to call that out.
Down statues of Lincoln and get rid of the police. Just, no, it's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid.
Bill Maher didn't hold back, arguing that Whoopi Goldberg missed the mark, a critique he often levels at The View. The program has built a reputation for heated, sometimes polarizing discussions, and moments involving Goldberg and Sunny Hostin have only added to that perception for some viewers. When Charlemagne the God appeared as a guest, many observers felt the on-air dynamic highlighted just how tense and unpredictable the show's debates can become. The ongoing criticism reflects a broader conversation about the program's tone and the sharp divisions in how audiences interpret these exchanges.
Criticism is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time and, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that.
Joe Biden, who has often emphasized that no one is above the law, drew sharp criticism after granting a pardon to his son, Hunter Biden. The decision quickly sparked debate across the political spectrum. Critics argue the move appears inconsistent with the president's public stance on accountability, while supporters counter that presidential pardon power is legal and has been used by many administrations. During the broader media discussion, Charlemagne the God and others questioned how the message of equal justice squares with a high-profile family pardon. The controversy highlights a familiar divide. Some see the decision as political hypocrisy, while others view it as a lawful, if controversial, exercise of executive authority.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed his mind.
You really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a sudden?
No, I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
And there you have it, another pointed moment in the ongoing back and forth involving Whoopi Goldberg. This time, Goldberg argued that Joe Biden did not contradict himself when he said no one is above the law, a claim that has fueled fresh debate online. Critics say the president's past statements are clear and view the defense as unconvincing, while supporters argue the situation is more nuanced than it's being portrayed. Either way, the exchange has only added more heat to an already contentious political and media conversation.
The nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law.
To critics, the moment felt especially hard to defend. They argue that Whoopi Goldberg stretched the reasoning behind Joe Biden's decision, suggesting he simply changed course after growing frustrated with political attacks. That explanation didn't land well with everyone watching. Observers pointed to the visible reaction from Charlemagne the God, who appeared surprised by the framing. The exchange has since circulated widely online, with supporters calling Goldberg's comments reasonable context and critics arguing they raise more questions than they answer.
I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that go out.
They're
They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground. They don't have to do.
Critics say moments like this highlight what they view as selective outrage in political and media circles, arguing that some commentators are quicker to condemn opponents than allies. From that perspective, the exchange involving Whoopi Goldberg drew less immediate pushback on air than some viewers expected when Charlemagne the God was present. But once Bill Maher weighed in, the tone shifted sharply. He delivered a pointed critique that quickly circulated online, fueling yet another round of debate over the comments made on The View. Supporters praised Maher for forcefully challenging the argument, while others felt the response was overstated, a reminder of how divided reactions to these media clashes have become.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit.
Critics argue that moments like this expose what they see as a double standard in political and media reactions. In their view, the case involving Hunter Biden became a flashpoint because his father, Joe Biden, holds the nation's highest office. Supporters of the president counter that the pardon power is legal and historically common, even if politically controversial. For his part, Bill Maher framed the situation as evidence of inconsistent standards, a critique that resonated with many of his viewers. Others, however, argue the broader issue is more complex and caution against reducing it to simple favoritism. The debate has also expanded into questions about the role of mainstream media coverage, with some commentators claiming major outlets soften scrutiny of political allies, while defenders of the media say coverage of the case has been extensive and often highly critical.
Appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden.
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course, you don't
but
follow
I'm
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not.
Critics argue that major media outlets moved quickly to minimize coverage of the Hunter Biden story, framing it as politically motivated or even foreign disinformation despite growing evidence. Observers suggest this approach was aimed at protecting Joe Biden and shaping the political narrative ahead of the next election. In The View, Whoopi Goldberg appeared to downplay the allegations, prompting Bill Maher to sharply challenge her stance. Maher criticized Goldberg for defending rather than scrutinizing, dismantling her arguments and calling attention to what he framed as a clear double standard in how the media and public treat political allies.
Of any matters of politics or what's right or wrong, the one thing I know for sure about America is this. It's run by mean girls. Mean girls in the press and in politics and in life. And when they smell blood in the water, the lust to finish off a vulnerable person will never be denied.
Maher nailed it. The women of The View, especially Whoopi Goldberg, aren't just progressive. They operate like a school of predatory sharks, circling anyone who doesn't toe their line. Their debates rarely seek truth or understanding. Instead, they aim to shut down dissent with snide remarks and thinly veiled mockery. Whoopi, in particular, has mastered the art of brushing off opposing views, as if anyone who disagrees is unworthy of attention. Maher, on the other hand, wasn't intimidated. He called them out, revealing their tactics as nothing more than bullying masquerading as activism. It's no surprise he's become a constant irritant, holding a mirror to their hypocrisy for viewers craving real, balanced discussion. His critiques feel like a breath of fresh air amid the stale, rehearsed arguments that dominate the show.
Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
Maher insists that the so-called woke crowd needs to stop fainting over Trump's victory and confront reality. He didn't steal it, cheat, or magically make it happen. He won because millions of Americans supported his message. No matter how much that makes the progressive left cringe, instead of blaming Russia, racism, or whichever scapegoat dominates Twitter this week, maybe it's time to accept that democracy sometimes hands the win to the other side. This isn't a bug in the system. It's democracy functioning as intended. The sooner they stop playing victims and start thinking like strategists, the better their chances will be in 2028 or even 2032.
There's a coalition of Trump voters, people who really like him. They certainly are those. And then there's people who don't necessarily like him that much, but they still think he's less crazy than stuff that strikes them as aggressively anti-common sense.
Bill Maher hits the mark again. Not every Trump voter is throwing MAGA parties or worshipping golden statues. Many simply held their noses and voted because they were fed up with the Democrats' sanctimonious lectures and the woke movement's growing detachment from common sense. Let's face it, when you cheer for biological men dominating women's sports or organize rallies that seem oddly sympathetic to groups like Hamas, you're bound to alienate voters. People didn't choose Trump for his tweets or his orange glow. They chose him because the alternative felt like a moralizing lecture from a self-righteous vegan at a backyard barbecue. If the left hopes to win, maybe it's time to stop chasing every fringe idea and start focusing on policies and messages that actually resonate with everyday Americans.
Well, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
It's pure comedy gold. Bill Maher didn't just deliver the final nail in Whoopi Goldberg's coffin. He practically built the whole thing while cracking jokes at every absurd turn. Whoopi, the self-appointed high priestess of the woke crowd, tried to take a swing at Maher for daring to think for himself. Big mistake. Maher's response, classic sharp, unapologetic, and hilariously biting, highlighted the irony. A co-host on The View, a show supposedly devoted to diverse opinions, attacking him simply for having a perspective she didn't like. Talk about rich. The people who constantly preach tolerance seem to think it only applies to their own views. As usual, Maher wasn't having it. He exposed the hypocrisy of the woke echo chamber, where critical thinking takes a back seat to tribal loyalty and dissent is treated like heresy. Watching him tear apart their flimsy arguments was like watching Picasso at work, only his brushstrokes were sarcasm and logic. And with that, we wrap up today's episode. If you enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.